Welcome to the break room. And we're doing a podcast for you tonight. Breakdown podcast. It is I, Logan Welliver, and our co-host, the lovely Brandon Miracle. And we're going to talk at you for as long as we can about the things that we love to talk at you for. They're here! We're here!
I did it.
We're doing things, and we're talking about things, and it's been... Oof. Okay, so the last Breakdown podcast was on the 18th. So...
Yeah.
That was quite literally 4 weeks ago. So...
We've been having some issues with scheduling. It's gotten to the point where getting Paul on the show is pretty much not possible.
What a life we lead. I wonder if this works now. It does work. Okay, cool. So, okay, before we really get started, let's talk a little bit about life and what we've been doing, some things that we've discovered. I just want to note that if you guys can see my background right now, so I've made my background a slideshow. And I've put a bunch of slides in there. And now I can just have a bunch of backgrounds anytime I want. And those are the things I've been learning at OBS. Hotkeys are my best friend.
I'm just imagining.
Yeah. I discovered this when I was setting up for an impromptu discussion that I did with our good friend David, aka Conman RDW, over on my personal channel about some stuff. And I was kind of doing some live producing, just recording everything in OBS and changing everything on the fly. And it was a lot of fun. And I discovered hotkeys and slideshows, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe I should use this more often. And so we got the Stardew background, we got a blue background, we got another blue background, we got a green background. This green background will be fun because you guys could take this image and you guys could take this video and just put whatever background you want in this. You could have me saying whatever you want and take it out of context and just have a background for a context, and that might be fun.
Speaking of Stream Deck, Conman, I have also seen the light, and now I really want a Stream Deck.
Oh man, yeah. If money wasn't an issue, right? Man, there'd be so many toys I would have.
I know I'm getting the Elgato green screen from my wife, so I can take this big obnoxious one down.
Save
me some room.
Yeah.
But I also want to get the Stream Deck, and earlier today I bought the deluxe audio strap for my HTC Vive.
Yeah.
That one kind of came out of necessity, though it still is a luxury, and weighing that in my mind is upsetting, but at the same time, it'll be nice.
So it's funny, you own a Vive, though I wouldn't be surprised if I have more hours in a headset than you.
It's not comfortable at all.
Right. So, my younger brother has a Vive, as you know, and he has had I think when he bought it when they dropped the price. I think he bought it on sale even for $400 maybe. And then was able to spend that extra money on the deluxe audio strap, which, oh man, the convenience of the deluxe audio strap. I think right now with VR, it's really about making the experience as convenient as possible, because there's a lot of inconveniences. So even if it's just the headset, there's just that knob on the back. It holds better on your head. It can get tighter on your head. It's a lot more comfortable. I would say it's definitely a good investment.
Well, I want to start using my Vive for some workouts, and just the loose strap, the uncomfortable strap just makes it a lot more difficult.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to having, because it doubles as I guess it triples in a few ways.
Yeah.
Because not only do you have the headphones built in, but it's a counterweight that actually is easy to put on your head.
Yeah.
And all of those things kind of come together to just, it'll get me in the headset more, I think, just overall.
Right. Right, exactly.
Also, rearranging the room certainly helps.
Oh, dude. I mean, that was the thing with Ethan is he rearranged the basement. He put his like computer like completely out of the way and found the best way to like maximize like his playing space. And now like the basement at my parents' house, like you walk into the basement and you just walk into this like large area that's mostly clear. There's like a futon, right, where people can sit, and then in front of the futon is just all this open area. So there was a night where my cousins came over and we were just all like in and out of helping each other in and out of the headset, changing out in Beat Saber, and then he's got like it mirrored on the screen, so we're all like watching it. I was like, man, you could make this even better if you get like a monitor and you just like put it like in front of everybody while they're watching them play. Man, what an experience.
Yeah. VR is actually what I'm going to do as soon as this podcast is over, because I'm going to try and dedicate like at least half an hour every day to playing Beat Saber.
Get really good.
I think I'm already fairly good for how little I've played.
That game is so satisfying. Like it's unreal. Like, okay, just in this virtual space, like how much that changes, like just like how it feels to play a game,
It was interesting. Like, well, I mean, obviously it's like a very kinetic experience with a very immediate, like, gratifying response.
Yeah.
I found, in my current setup, I'm having issues getting both of my controllers to operate correctly. I need to actually adjust the way my base stations are pointed, because my play space actually moved back in the room a little bit.
Right.
But I was playing Beat Saber, and every once in a while my right controller would just float off into the nether. And then after it came back, I would lose rumble for the rest of the song.
Oh, that's
weird. That made a huge difference. Like,
oh yeah,
you need that feedback in order for that game to feel right.
It's really like a core part of the experience. Like, I remember experiencing haptic feedback in the Vive for the first time. And that was just unreal to me, and I was like, I don't think I could do this without like that aspect of it.
Like, Nintendo announced HD Rumble, but like I already kind of knew what that was like.
Yeah
These controllers are essentially doing that, albeit I believe in a different way.
Right.
But yeah, I want to dedicate that time every day to playing Beat Saber. It helps normalize my blood sugar. Yesterday I had absolutely no issues with my blood sugar at all. Because I played Beat Saber. So I'm going to do that every day. Try and burn between 500 to 1,000 calories.
With Beat Saber?
Oh yeah, I burned like almost 250 yesterday in just a little bit of time I played.
Oh really? Oh yeah, because like they have the
There's a built-in calorie tracker.
Yeah, built-in calorie
it's
tracker.
A mod, but still.
Well, yeah. Oh my God, you want to talk about the modding community for that game? That's really made that game.
Yeah, seriously. Like, I mean, all the custom songs, because I don't think Beat Saber will ever be a game that has a lot of just built-in music, just given the nature of licensing.
Yeah.
So custom music is pretty much like the heart and soul of that game right now. And that's not to say that the built-in tracks aren't great, because they're very good. And the note charts that they built for them are really fun to play. And that's kind of the issue I'm having with custom songs right now, is a lot of them are really poorly designed.
Yeah.
There's like 2 songs from Dragon Ball Super that like get me really hype. And I was like, these would make great workout jams. And I found them in the custom music like library, but the note charts were just dumb.
Yeah, so I would definitely encourage you to have a discussion with Ethan about Beat Saber, because that man's in deep. So if you want to know some good songs with some good beat maps and such, like, he'll be able to lead you in the right direction.
It looks like Conman also knows. He says someone literally charted the whole Shrek movie.
Yeah. There's also some like really memey things, like I think it was...
There's the Lazy Town Bake a Cake song. I love that one.
Yeah. Then there's the... what is it?
It's the trap mix version.
No, the scene... They tracked the scene from Revenge of the Sith, The high ground scene.
Oh, the high ground. Yeah, no, I saw that one. I didn't download it because I mean, obviously it was a meme, so I didn't really care. But...
Yeah, and that one's like, okay, all of the actual like movements are based on like trying to emulate some sort of like lightsaber fight, and it's kind of funny.
Oh,
but,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
I've also played around a little bit with like the custom sabers.
Yeah.
I've got like 2 katanas right now. I didn't really check. That was just the first one I clicked on, so I just kept it. And there's also like custom environments that I haven't dealt with yet. I think the base environment is so cool that I don't really want to change it, but I'll probably check around and see if it's still like good.
Yeah, man, there's like everything. There's custom UI, there's custom menu design.
You can even do like custom colors and for the lights in the background.
Custom player models.
Yeah,
and
there's a modded multiplayer in there.
There's a modded multiplayer, and from what I know, that the Beat Saber guys brought the guy who made the mod on to actually integrate that into the actual game.
So do 2 players play the same chart? How does it work?
So from what I played of it, essentially everybody plays the same chart at the same time. Though you can't. What I would like to see for the multiplayer is everybody in the same room, right? At least the same movements, right? You only get the one feed, but maybe you get like other like people and they're like in the same room, like physically, and then you see their movements as well. I think that would be really cool.
Do you not see each other in multiplayer?
Only like in the lobby before you like compete, I guess, you know.
I guess like if you played 2-player, the game would have to double the number of blocks it's rendering. And that could
well,
be
and that's what
too.
I'm saying is I don't think you would have to double the number of the blocks. What if you were just able to project the player model and their movements?
Okay.
So so you just kind of see what they're doing, you know.
I guess the problem is like, where do you render that model? Do you render it next to you, or do you render it out into the playfield?
Right. But currently that's just not a thing. I have no expectations whether or not they'll actually add something like that. But the fact that multiplayer is there at all is cool, because you have leaderboards and, you know, I mean, you've always had leaderboards, right? So you can go on a song and you can see, okay, who's done the best, and I want to do better. And
there's leaderboards for custom tracks too.
Yes.
The whole custom track like source browser system is really well implemented.
Yeah, it's like they kind of just like I think they were pretty aware that like, okay, the base is going to be pretty small. So we need to build in features that are community features and making sure that, okay, we don't have the budget for like to license songs, but we can allow people to customize whatever songs they want, you know?
Yeah, I mean, then the legal issues are off of them.
Right. So
the problem is it makes streaming the game kind of a pain.
Oh, yes. Streaming the game would be difficult other than like, okay, some of maybe the memeier stuff.
And it's just the original tracks.
Yeah, the original
That's about all you get. Though they did add new ones.
Yeah, little by little. I would like to see them amp up like the inclusion of original tracks and maybe some official licensed ones that like
I thought they did. When I checked, there were a couple licensed songs in the game already.
Well, I know that like they added one from like League of Legends or something like that. Like they actually
I could have sworn there was like an actual artist or like, you know.
Oh, yeah, but those ones are like crafted like specifically for Beat Saber and such. And then like not to mention that like I don't know. I think there's probably more on the way cuz like of all the VR games, like I would not be surprised like this game took off in a way that VR games really can't for the most part.
Well, I mean, like, let's be honest. Beat Saber is the best VR game available.
Oh, hands down. And I think one of the reasons that is just because of the nature of it. It's essentially, it turns your, like, VR headset into an arcade machine of sorts, you know?
Pretty much. Yeah. I mean, Beat Saber is a game you cannot play without VR.
Right.
And honestly, that's the only selling point it needs. And a selling point that does not exist in a lot of other games.
Yeah, it's really fantastic. It's a lot of fun. I wish I had a Vive myself. I wish I had enough room for a Vive. Just having a green screen doesn't make it any better.
Conman is arguing that the best VR game is Astrobot on PSVR.
I have not watched any Astrobot gameplay.
I feel like if you watch gameplay for Astrobot, then there's no reason to play it. So, like, don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to get a PSVR, I've heard great things about it. It has fantastic reviews. I just don't know anything about it.
The sad thing about all of this is that the PSVR, while being, like, technologically the worst of the three major headsets, is the best supported of the three headsets.
Well, it's the most accessible, right?
Yeah.
Because, like, okay, we're coming up on, like, 100 million PS4s sold. And so, like, if you already have a PS4, it's just like buying another console at $300, and then like there have been bundles for, you know, less. So it's definitely the most accessible, and I think that's great for VR as a whole. Though in terms of like the best experiences in like consumer VR, like Vive kind of has them beat. Though I think
it's a kind of competition I don't like, because it's essentially the same thing as the console wars. We have 3 different hardware manufacturers with exclusive content between 3 different devices that all do the same thing.
Right.
And it's stifling VR's ability to take off in some ways, I think. But that's just me.
Yeah.
It's still primitive, and it's certainly not helping.
Yeah, but I think that'll change over time. I hope that the platforms become a lot more open and there's less exclusive content, especially when it comes to like headsets that are like both on the PC, right? Like sometimes you'll have like Oculus,
you have to like mod Oculus software to play Vive games.
Right. So I mean, if it comes down to playing on PC, like, oh man, get a Vive. Like it's kind of a no-brainer. But that being said, I think we're going to see some more headsets this year. Some improvements on input. I mean, we already have like the Vive Pro, though that's prohibitively expensive right now.
$1,300 bundle. Yeah.
But I mean, if you already have all the other stuff, then you just have to pay for the headset. But the headset itself is like $800.
It's still $800.
It's something that, you know, again, only enthusiasts are really gonna partake in. But again, like the base Vive set is like $500 now, and it goes on sale. Sometimes you can find used for like $400. So it's slowly but surely they're getting less expensive, and then they're gonna get wireless, and the, you know, inconvenience is gonna go down, and the value proposition is gonna go up, and it'll be exciting to see what happens in the next 2 to 3 years with VR, because I think it's slowly coming out of its niche market and finding its way into the mainstream. Not to mention kind of like the halfway VR headsets that are releasing, like the Oculus Quest, and then
that said, I mean, I still think we're like further off than we think.
Right.
Because it's not taking off the way that I think the industry was hoping.
No, of course not. But like things like Beat Saber, right? You'll probably be able to play a game like Beat Saber on one of these headsets, right? And they won't require a PC. They'll just, you know, whatever. You just put them on, and they're a little more expensive, but at least you don't have to have a whole PC or buy a whole new PC to make sure that it's happening.
Yeah. Just don't go walking in the street with your headset on, playing Beat Saber in the middle of a freeway. Just don't do that. Unless
you got some friends watching, just make sure that they know that you're safe, you know, and they stop some cars.
This is gonna be the new equivalent to videos on the internet of people on their phones who walk into a fountain in the middle of the shopping mall.
Yeah. Oh man.
Don't be those people. Be safe.
As much as I love VR, as much as I absolutely love Beat Saber, we do have some other things. I think that's our VR segment, right?
Yeah, I mean, if we don't hurry, I won't get to play Beat Saber. And that's a problem.
But as you guys know, this is the podcast where we talk about the TVs, movies, anime, and games that we played in the last few weeks. And in this case, the last 4 weeks.
The last month.
So we probably won't get to everything we've done because it's pretty jam-packed. So thank you all for showing up. And Brandon, have you watched any movies in the past month?
Maybe a few. Okay, I saw Bumblebee. I saw the original Mary Poppins. It was the very first time I watched it.
Oh.
Mary Poppins Returns, I saw. Aquaman. And those are the only 4 movies I could remember that at least I went out of my way to go to a theater to watch. This isn't counting things I watched at home. If I did watch things at home, I honestly couldn't tell you. My whole last month of my life is a blur. Honestly, this morning is a blur. So you can't expect these kinds of things of me. Bumblebee, I was never ever going to see, but Conman saw it early and he was like, yo, go see this movie, it's actually good. And I was like, you know what, I'll give it a shot. I don't love Transformers. Actually, I really don't have any connection to the franchise at all.
Yeah.
That said, I was interested enough to go check it out because I saw the original Transformers movie. I didn't like it that much, honestly. Hard to follow action, characters that you don't really care about, just those kinds of issues. But with Bumblebee, it's like they said, what if we just did all those things we did wrong? But fixed those things. So they had characters that were actually interesting to listen to. The action was actually fun to watch. I've never been able to say that in a Transformers movie before, but like watching Bumblebee fight the Decepticons was really enjoyable. So it had that going for it. I will say that I don't think the acting was exceptionally good. That could also be just like poor script writing or direction. I don't know.
Right.
But I was able to forgive it just to have a decent enough time with the movie. And I went out of it having thought I had a good time. So I'll say that much about Bumblebee. Mary Poppins was the first time I ever watched the movie. Did you know Mary Poppins is a delightful film?
Yes.
Who knew?
Yes, I did. I've been thinking a lot about like older films as of late and things that I've missed out on or things that I haven't seen in a while. For example, like right before Christmas, before I like headed home for Christmas, I was working at Target and in the break room they had on The Sound of Music.
The break room?
And what? Oh. And I love The Sound of Music, so that was a nice surprise. And I was like, man, I should really get around to watching that. Mary Poppins is another one of those films.
Yeah. No, I really enjoyed the movie. Who's the actress who plays Mary Poppins again? I forget her name.
I think it's the same person that... Let me look this up.
It is not the same person in the new movie, if that's what you were going to say.
No.
Oh, you mean The Sound of Music? Then yes.
Yes. I'm same actress.
Sure it is.
Julie Andrews.
What an attractive lady. I'll say that.
Dude, I mean, even in her 80s, even in her 70s, she still got it.
Sorry, I got distracted by the chat. What is happening in the chat? Is everything okay?
I don't know, man.
Anyway, yeah, I thought Mary Poppins was great. I loved the songs. I loved Julie Andrews. Dick Van Dyke, just a really good time. And then, I did this all for my wife because she wanted to see Mary Poppins Returns because she loves the original movie.
Right.
So we went to go see Mary Poppins Returns, and I had another great time. I thought it was delightful. Does lean on nostalgia in a lot of ways, but it's telling the future story of the same set of kids from the original film.
Yeah.
So you get to see them grown up. The son owns the house now, and he has his own kids. And Mary Poppins, shows up to be the nanny to the new set of children. And honestly, it kind of follows the same beats as the original movie. There's even an entire sequence that is directly a reference. Well, in multiple cases, actually, that are direct references to scenes from the original movie. Like the big animated sequence from the original Mary Poppins. There is just one of those, like, in Mary Poppins Returns. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing at all, actually. I thought it was great. They used, like, that classic... like Disney animation style, like the way the characters are drawn for that scene, and I really appreciated that because you don't see a lot of that these days. And they also had like an equivalent to the chimney sweep character,
Right.
except he's like a lamplighter. And they do another like big bombastic number with like all the lamplighters in London, like they did with all the chimney sweeps in the original movie.
Right.
I thought that was cute. It was a very good number, probably my favorite in the movie. Yeah, and like I said, it leans on nostalgia a little bit, but I don't think that should be a detractor. Like, the reason you make a Mary Poppins Returns this many years after the original is specifically to do that. So I don't think there's anything
Exactly.
wrong with
Yeah.
that. Yeah, there's like no other reason you would make Mary Poppins this many years after the original film. So, enjoyed that a lot. I also saw Aquaman with Jason Momoa, and I have quite a bit to say about Aquaman. But first of all, I did enjoy the movie. Not a ton, but I didn't hate myself while I was watching it.
Okay, that's a good.
I'm looking at you, Suicide Squad. I'm gonna be honest. Jason Momoa might be my least favorite part of this entire film.
Oof.
And I love Jason Momoa. I don't have any issues with Jason Momoa, but it's just I did not find his performance particularly interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, and I don't want to like chalk it up to Jason Momoa, being a bad actor or saying anything like that, because obviously he's not. He's established. Right. So a lot of that probably has to do with the script, just inserting jokes in scenes and where they don't make sense, and making Aquaman kind of this dude bro, but also like backpedaling on that. I just didn't really understand from a tonal perspective what they were doing with his character all the time.
I think it's, maybe they were trying to play to the same audience of like the Marvel films, where Marvel's like, okay, let's throw as many jokes in there as we can, or even some of the new like Star Wars films, jokes, and then like there comes to a certain point where you're like, you're not doing it because the jokes fit, you're just trying to fit the jokes in,
Yeah, and like I don't want to like pin all of it on Jason Momoa. I just think all of the issues I had just happened to be expressed through Jason Momoa.
Right.
And that, like I said, that could be chalked up to poor writing, or maybe just poor editing choices. Like maybe there were better takes or better lines that they ended up just not using. You never know with these big studio films. So many things can happen in the end. But that said, like, I didn't hate it. Like, I thought the underwater fights were really fun to watch. There was a scene in Italy where they had like this rooftop battle, and they kept like going way out into the background, showing up to a one-on-one fight, to then go all the way back to the foreground in a single shot to continue the other 1v1 fight.
Yeah.
And obviously some of that was accomplished with CG, but it still looked cool, and I thought it made the action more exciting.
Right.
So I think those are the areas where I liked Aquaman the most, honestly, or just when people are fighting. And that's not a bad thing for a superhero movie. Yeah, I just wish the writing was a little tighter, and maybe wish that was reflected in the performances a little bit too.
Right.
That said, I do like Jason Momoa's Aquaman a lot. I like what they're trying to do with it. They're trying to like destigmatize Aquaman, which he's been destigmatized for me for a long time. Like, I've liked Aquaman for a long time because of the New 52 comics and the changes they made to him through that. And like, more mainstream audiences are now going to start seeing that because of these films.
Yep.
And it seems like that was well accomplished, because Aquaman is destroying the box office.
Oh yeah, no, it's making a ton of money. So like, regardless if you have issues with the film, like, goodness gracious, from a commercial standpoint, like, didn't it just like pass $1 billion at the box office worldwide?
I believe so. Yeah, it was very impressive and a good win for DC. I think. I hope this encourages them to continue what they're doing and just work. Keep working at it until they find what works.
Yeah.
Because I want to like these movies more than I do. And I will be the first to admit, man, they're not always that great.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like we haven't had some good DC movies, I mean, the Dark Knight trilogy is a great example of that.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is they're always constantly compared to the Marvel films. But the thing is, like, if DC doesn't do something different, then they're always going to be compared to Marvel movies.
Oh, right.
They need to establish their own thing, and I don't think they've quite figured out what that is yet.
No, certainly not.
Okay, and those are like the major films I saw. I guess I'll throw one other one in here right after I talk about SpongeBob. I've been watching SpongeBob SquarePants.
Where you been watching that?
Amazon Prime.
Okay, they have like the first 4 seasons on there, don't they?
Yep, and they consist of some of my favorite episodes as a kid, so
right.
That's perfect for me. I think I learned that season 3 might be my favorite season of SpongeBob because there was just like banger after banger in that season of episodes that I love and like that are really dear to my heart. So I guess season 3 was really good for SpongeBob, even though that was after the writers left because they left after the 2nd season, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But who knows? That said, I've been having a great time just reliving some old episodes. This is one of those things I always go back to, like I say on the show all the time. It's just one of those comfort shows, Just one of those things that you watch to kind of to relax, ease yourself. You can do something else in the background while the show's on. And that's what SpongeBob did for me. I watched maybe 5 or 6 episodes. In addition to that, this does count slightly as anime, but it is a movie as well. Yesterday I watched Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods.
I've seen that movie before.
Yeah, there might be a whole story about that actually. I love Battle of Gods. I know this movie is controversial amongst fans, but I think objectively at this point in time, I haven't seen the new movie yet, obviously. I think Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods is the best film in the franchise. It is the movie that represents the series as a whole the best. It gives you the little tastes of Dragon Ball, as well as towards the end of the movie kind of reminding us what we loved about Dragon Ball Z.
Right.
There's this scene in the movie towards the end, spoiler alert, where Goku and Beerus are fighting like deep in a valley, like in a cave. And there's like a lake in the cave or whatever, but right. Goku runs out of his Super Saiyan God power during that match and doesn't realize it. And Beerus backs him into a corner after ramping up his attack power and his speed. And Goku gets trapped in all of this falling rubble after Beerus uses this big spinning energy attack. And you see Goku punching and kicking all of the rocks surrounding him as they come down on top of him. And eventually they all get on top of his body and he starts powering up, and Sean Schemmel delivers just my favorite line he's ever delivered as Goku. He says, hold on. Sorry, it left me for a second. He says, "I won't let you destroy my world." And he says it with such conviction and energy. It gave me chills the first time I heard it in theaters, and I still get chills listening to it every time I watch that scene. He then powers up to Super Saiyan, and we're treated to 3 minutes of eye candy of them fighting in the clouds. The camera spins all around them and everything.
Yeah.
Just a really hallmark moment in Dragon Ball for me.
Yeah.
That was also Dragon Ball coming back to the forefront after years lying dormant.
Yep.
So it meant a whole lot to me specifically as a fan.
That was also the moment that I got into Dragon Ball. Because I went and I watched that movie with you guys and then went the next day to see Resurrection F with you guys, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
You watched it with us just so you had a reason to go with.
Yeah, and then I saw Resurrection F, and then I was like, oh, cool. And then that's when I see some of the guys talking about Kai in the chat. That's when you're like, oh, well, you should go watch Kai. And so I watched the 100 episodes of Kai that were out, and then went back and watched the 150 episodes of the original Dragon Ball series, and then watched all of the final chapters of Kai when those dropped. And now I'm watching Super, which I have some catching up to do. But outside of that, yeah,
this was like the genesis of your acquired fandom for Dragon Ball.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I did this in preparation for the movie that I'm seeing tomorrow night, Dragon Ball Super Broly. I'm very excited for this movie. I talk about that a lot, but this is the 20th film in the series, and the people behind the movie have made it their goal to make it the best possible Dragon Ball movie they can, in terms of animation, which if you've seen any of the trailers, like, this movie looks good, and it looks so different than anything they've ever put out for Dragon Ball ever. And that's like the number one reason I'm excited. I mean, obviously I'm excited to watch Goku and Vegeta fight. I'm excited to see the next story in the series. But overall, I think the animation is the number one thing that's got me excited to see the movie.
Yeah.
I can't wait to talk about that after I see it.
Same. It'll be a good one.
Don't watch it until you finish Super. Just gonna say that. There's some little spoilery stuff in there. Yeah, and that's pretty much all that I could remember that I watched.
Yeah. So, I've never been a big movie watcher, so I didn't really watch a lot of movies. I should watch more movies. I keep saying I should watch more movies. Maybe one day. Maybe the next episode I'll have watched 50 movies and I'll talk about all of them, and that'll be all the podcast is about, just Logan watching all these movies. In terms of TV, I finished the second season and the second arc of Riverdale, which...
Oh, you finished season 2?
I finished season 2.
Yeah.
That was quite the ending. Everything's very dark, and I was very confused, and... Well, actually, I wasn't all that confused. That was more Hannibal. I was very confused the last, half of the second season of Hannibal, which I also finished the second season of Hannibal.
That's a good one.
Yeah, holy crud. Spoiler alert, they kill off everyone.
The season finale, the second season finale of Hannibal, was one of just the most jaw-dropping things I've ever seen on television.
I can't believe they did that. I just can't believe that happened. I wasn't anticipating. I was like, oh, something's gonna they might get roughed up or something. But oh, good God, they killed everyone.
That scene, in the last episode of season 2, was the defining moment for me. That changed my mind about the definitive Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah.
Mads Mikkelsen is the man.
He was
born to be Hannibal.
Yeah. So I started watching season 3. Haven't really gotten really all that far into it quite yet. But I am already sounding the alarms and sounding the bells, and let's get a season 4. Let's get a season 5. Let's keep this series going.
It's a real tragedy.
Yeah.
You hear people talk about Community ending too early. This is one of those shows. Unfortunately, Hannibal never quite hit that mainstream appeal, which is a real shame because it's something else.
Yeah. I love it quite a lot. Outside of that, I mean, I haven't watching a whole lot of shows outside of those 2 shows. Keeping up with Bob's Burgers, because Bob's Burgers, I love that show so much. There's a political commentator that I listen to, Sam Cedar. And I did not realize until the other day, I watched a video where he interviewed H.J. Benjamin. H.J. Benjamin, John Benjamin, is a very, very well-known voice actor. He voices Archer on Archer. He voices Bob on Bob's Burgers. He has such a background, like, and such a resume. Like, he's just absolutely huge. Well, Sam Cedar, and it didn't dawn on me until recently, he voices a recurring character on Bob's Burgers. He voices Hugo, who is Linda's, ex-fiance before, and she left Hugo for Bob, right? And that's established in the very first episode of the series. So it's kind of like a pivotal, and so every time Hugo comes back, there's always that thing about it where he's like, oh man, I'm still in love with Linda and all this other stuff, and it makes for some good times. So I was just like, man, Worlds Crossing, that show's funny as ever. It's just, the animation's also gotten so much better. I watched the first episode, and it feels a little bit sloppy and gooey, but man, yeah, the animation has improved.
I saw a season, or not a season. I saw a scene today. I think I was on Reddit. Unfortunately, I don't remember what I was on. Ask Reddit. I don't remember what the question was. I wish I could remember what the question was, but someone posted a clip of a Bob's Burger episode where he has a nightmare about having an office job.
Okay.
And basically the nightmare is him having to make small talk with all of his coworkers. And it just cuts to various scenes of him slowly becoming just an everyday Stan.
Yeah.
Making awful small talk with people, shooting the breeze at the water cooler. And it made me laugh because I was like, I've seen a little bit of this in myself lately.
It's a really, really well written show. It really is. It seems like there's a lot of care, and the situations that they always throw themselves into are really great. Have you seen the very first episode of Bob's Burgers?
I have never seen an episode ever.
So the premise for the very first episode is the youngest, Louise, brought to show and tell one of her dad's burgers and told all the kids that it was made with human meat. And so that's where Hugo comes in. Hugo is the health inspector and goes, we have to test your meat. And if it comes out that there's human remains in it, you're going to jail. And there's obviously not. It was just a lie that a child told. But he has to go through all the struggles, and then they get this big poster put up on the restaurant, and the struggle is the restaurant's failing. They never get enough business, and they're always how are we gonna make it? And all of a sudden they have this huge poster on their front window that says, food may contain human remains, and it scares off a bunch of people, and then there's just a whole bunch of hijinks that happen. It's just a really classic first episode. It feels there are other shows that that first episode feels so iconic, and it just feels so well crafted. I feel the same way about The Amazing World of Gumball, and that very first episode about the DVD and returning the DVD, and just all the things that go into that. It's just,
I was thinking of SpongeBob when you were saying that.
I figured you were. I was like, that's a SpongeBob look if I've ever seen one.
I was like, help wanted, just smacked me in the face while you were talking about that. Yeah, so, just iconic.
Yeah, so it's the mark of a good show. Same with Futurama. I could go on. Some of the best shows, they just have stellar first episodes. There are exceptions. But in terms of just regular old TV, I have watched more animated things, though they are of the Japanese animation variety. I watched 4 different shows in the last 4 weeks. So at a certain point, I started watching High School of the Dead.
I'm a little surprised by that one.
I was like, I don't know what to watch. Hey, here's something that always gets memed.
Wouldn't have been my first choice, but it's at least funny to watch at the very least,
right. There's entertainment value to it, right? I needed something light.
Don't watch it if you're underage.
It's not safe for work.
What is Kaguya-sama?
So these are two shows that just started premiering. These two shows in the list. I'll talk about that. I want to talk about that one last. I just want to get out of the way. Like, I watched JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, still in the Golden Wind arc. I'm really getting into it. I love JoJo. I love some of the things that are happening, but watching it week to week sometimes is grueling because I just want to watch more, and that's the struggle. So now I'm watching like 3. Who knows if I'll keep with these first 2, but I liked what I saw from these very first episodes of these shows.
Brings me back to my childhood, watching 1 episode of Naruto every 7 days.
Yeah. The Promised Neverland was really good, really dark. You know, it starts off with...
I've heard the premise of this one, yeah.
Yeah, so to explain the premise to everybody else, these kids are in this orphanage, and sometimes they'll get picked up to go out to foster homes, but they have, like, numbers on their neck, right? Like, they're tagged, like... They don't question it. Some of them are smarter. They have to test every day, and they're constantly being taught things. And at the very end of the episode, you find out that one of these younger girls is chosen to... not chosen. Like, she got chosen by a foster family, right? And she's going home to her foster family, and that's something to be celebrated. But she leaves like a stuffed animal behind, and one of the other, young characters, I think she's 11. I think that's the oldest they get, right? Is after 11, like something happens. Okay. And they run to go return it to her, and they find the other character dead in the back of a truck. And then they hear some rustling, they hear some talking, and they're like the two characters that went hide, and they're horrified. They're like, "What's happening? Why is this child dead?" And then you realize that there's like these demons, these monsters of sorts, and you figure out that this foster home, this orphanage, is just a cover, and it's actually a farm for raising human meat.
Oh. That got an actual reaction out of my body.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess you could say it's equivalent to cows, right? Like, we eat cows, yeah. It's the same idea, except it's humans. And after that, I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. Also, the animation's fantastic. Like, the show visually looks really good. Really good.
I saw some stills, and I was pretty impressed.
Yeah. So definitely recommend. Also, this one was of note, and I posted this in the Discord. It is simultaneously being released on 4 different streaming services. So Crunchyroll, Funimation, High Dive, and Hulu. So
yeah, that's a lot of places.
That's a lot of places, and like
it's accessible.
Yeah. So I'm like, I have like Verve, right? So like, and I have access to Hulu. So like, this thing was all in my face all at once. The last one I watched, and this one was the most interesting because I didn't anticipate I would be watching this one, but I kind of read the premise, and I was like, it's okay. It's only 1 episode. I can commit to 1 episode. Kaguya-sama, Love is War. So the premise of this is there are 2 characters, boy and girl, and they will not admit their love for each other, right? They won't admit it to themselves either. They're 2 very intelligent and proud students who view, like, if I fall in love with somebody, that's a weak thing. That's weakness. So like it becomes this battle of, okay, I am going to like tempt this person to get them to break, you know, in certain ways, to try to instigate them to be like, oh, I admit my love for you. And like, okay, so it's like a contest. It's a war between these two people who are, you know, obviously into each other. And they're like the, you know, the core of like, they are the student council, right? So everybody looks up to them, and everybody's like, "Oh, they're totally a couple," and all this other
like
stuff.
The heads
You
of
guys
the student
romantically.
council, or they are the student council.
They are the student council, just the
two of
two.
them?
Yeah, as far as I can tell, I don't have any other context quite yet. So,
is Kaguya the name of one of the characters?
I'm not sure. I can't remember the name of the characters.
Because Sama is what you would use to denote somebody of like authoritative rank, like a lord or a king.
Right.
So I'm just wondering what the implication is there.
Yeah, it looks like... Yeah, so the titular character of the series, I'm reading this off of Wikipedia. Kaguya is the vice president of Shuchin Academy's student council. She has black hair and ruby eyes. She is beautiful, intelligent, and a wealthy girl, with her family owning one of the largest business conglomerates in Japan.
That would explain the Sama. Yeah,
right. So the other character, the student council president's Miyuki, he is also just like super smart. Like they're both like super intelligent, super talented. Though I don't think he comes from, you know, royal blood, if you would call it that. You know what I mean? So, they're always like throughout the episode, there's like 3 or 4 different instances of like a battle of sorts. You know, a battle of like, I'm thinking through this and, oh no, I'm totally not into her, but then I can tell that she's into me, and I'm going to try to coax it out of her to admit that. And there's constant back and forth and, you know, getting inside their heads and like, oh no, if I respond this way, she could take it as this. And then there's a response and it's like, oh, like that was deflect. So I just think the dynamic's really interesting. I think I think most people are drawn to the idea of like 2 people who are madly in love and they just won't admit it. And then just this kind of takes it to the next level and dramatizes it that much more. I look forward to seeing what else like comes out of this.
Is this a current?
Yes.
Currently,
yeah.
okay.
Just the first episode has come out, and I watched it on Hulu. Though
I'm
it
assuming
might be
it's a sub then.
Yes, it's a sub.
Okay.
I'm so glad I started watching subs because it just makes so many things available. Oh, it looks like Kaguya-sama is also on Crunchyroll, and therefore it is also on Verve. So it is accessible.
Well, I did watch a couple more anime. I will start with the shorter of the two. Nichijou is a show that our friend Josiah loves to death. The best way I can describe it is Japanese Peanuts. So basically like this simple kind of slice of life, but with anime characters. At the same time, it's incredibly ridiculous and the humor is way out there. It's very silly. So the Peanuts analogy can only go so far. I only watched one episode, and I've seen this episode before, but it's available on Funimation.
Yeah.
And this show is only subbed because you couldn't do a dub of this show. It's just like you would have to change the show to do a dub of the show.
Right.
Much in the way that they did with Sergeant Frog. But that ended up being successful because of that. So who knows? It could still happen.
Yeah.
But it's basically it's like a full of like 4 or 5 different vignettes in a single episode, such as like one of the characters is a robot, but she looks like just a regular Japanese anime girl, but she has this big like wind-up toy looking wind-up thing on her back. But she still tries to hide the fact that she's a robot from other people.
Yeah.
And when they point out the big wind-up thing on her back, she's like, "Oh, it's not like I'm a robot or anything." And she was like made by this little girl who's like half of her size, but she has to like wait on her hand and foot. Speaking of feet, there's like a USB drive in her pinky toe, and it like launches like a rocket.
Okay.
Gets lodged into a wall at one point. These are not the main characters, by the way.
Okay.
There's like a core set of 3 girls who are friends that I don't know the names of yet. And one of the scenes in the first episode is they're all eating lunch together, and the main girl saves the last piece, like the best piece for last. She like picks it up and she drops it, and then it becomes like this 2 or 3 minute intense like super shonen anime I have to prevent this from touching the floor kind of thing. And then they're like, you know, she's using her chopsticks trying to catch it in the air. They're like hitting it towards other people. It's falling on people's heads. And in the end, it like touches the ground and she picks it up and she eats it anyway. And she's like, 5-second rule. So we went like through this entire bombastic 2-minute experience for it to hit the floor anyway. And then she just eats it regardless.
Right.
So yeah, it's just like this sequence of really ridiculous scenarios that don't, you know, rest in any type of logic, but they're just really funny. There's this one kid who's in trouble with like the principal because he rides his goat to school. And one of the main chicks has a crush on it.
Has a crush on the kid or the goat?
Or no, the kid who rides the goat to school.
Okay.
There's a sequence where there's a school assembly, and one of the teachers like starts yelling at the students and won't let them leave the assembly until they tell her which one of them left the Buddha statue in her classroom, or like her locker or closet or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And I can't remember if she blames anyone. I think she blames the goat kid at one point, but it then turns out that it was her birthday, and the really soft-spoken bald male principal's like, "I gave it to you as a birthday present." And then he like delivers a final line of the joke that's so flat that none of the kids respond. It's a really hilarious, charming show. If you're looking for something that's a good pick-me-up, just give it a watch. I think you'll have a good time. It's so hard for me to describe because it's so out there.
Right. I figured that was the case. It's like, chances are, like, if I just start watching it, I'll probably like, oh, okay.
It has a very bubbly, cute, bright, colorful, charming aesthetic. The intro animation's really good. The song's really good. Just give it a chance. I think you will find enjoyment in Nichijou.
I mean, I'm looking at stills right now, and it looks bombastic.
Yeah. In addition to Nichijou, I since the last time we did the breakdown, I have gotten 50% of the way through One Piece.
Oof.
My first time.
The manga or the anime?
Both. I'm flip-flopping between the two.
Okay.
So, like, I will read the manga when I have some free time, and then during, like, more important parts, I'll just watch the anime, like,
right,
for fights and whatnot.
So how many episodes is that?
In terms of episodes, 362.
Okay.
In terms of the manga, 440 chapters.
Okay.
And turns out I love One Piece.
Yeah.
Whoops. One Piece is the #1 best-selling manga of all time in Japan, and it didn't take me long to figure out why. It's really good. Wonderful cast of characters. Eiichiro Oda is incredible at crafting his world. Just inherently because it's about pirates and being on the ocean, and there's a bunch of islands. There's a lot of opportunities for Oda to make a very colorful, unique world. Every island is different than the last, with characters that have just absolutely ridiculous designs, but they all look different.
Right.
Like, Oda never wastes a design. Like, every single character, he puts time and effort into making them look unique and stand out from every other character. It's unbelievable how much time Oda puts into his designs. It's honestly one of the most impressive things about the manga in the first place. In the arc I just finished, there was a character who has a very large, wide body with an enormous head with a zipper for a mouth. And it's never explained why he has a zipper for a mouth, but he sure does have a zipper for a mouth. And then you have the main characters like Luffy, Zoro, Nami. One of my personal favorites is Chopper. He's a reindeer, and he's adorable, and he's also a doctor. I wanted to eat him the first time I saw him on the screen. There's also Usopp, who is a marksman for the crew. He's also one of my favorite characters. So basically he uses a slingshot, but he's got incredibly good aim. He has a very long nose because he likes to tell like untrue tall tales that makes himself seem like a glorious pirate. And he's voiced by Sonny Strait, and he uses the voice he uses for Krillin. So it's actually a perfect fit.
Yeah.
There's Sanji. He's a cook. He's got a really cool attitude. He's got blonde hair, and he's got eyebrows that do little curly cues on the end. And he smokes 100% of the time. There's always a cigarette in his mouth. But he's got a really funny attitude. He's the one character in the show that is like all over women. But honestly, it's kind of refreshing in One Piece because it's not perverse like in the way you would see with shows like Naruto or Dragon Ball, especially with Master Roshi.
Right.
Like, he has a romantic interest in all of these
ladies. Okay.
So that makes me like Sanji a lot more than I would otherwise. So obviously a great refreshing take in One Piece for that. Obviously this manga started in 1997, so refreshing is only like contextual to me. To other people who've been on the boat, no pun intended, for 21 years, not so much. But yeah, it's just really exciting. It's full of all of those great shonen anime moments where the fight isn't looking good, and then the hero just comes out from behind doing something brand new you haven't seen before and manages to shake out the win.
Yeah.
I can't get enough of that stuff. I live for it. I was raised on it. So yeah, I'm adding Luffy to one of my favorite anime protagonists, even though right now he's not super deep. But I hear in the post-time skip is when they really start to delve into his character.
Yeah.
They spend a lot of time on the other members of the crew. Like, I feel like every character has their day, and you know so much about them, and it feels like they aren't wasted. When you compare it to, like, My Hero Academia, there's a lot of characters in Class 1A that we really don't know a lot about, and you don't get that with One Piece. You know about everybody.
Right.
And it makes you connect to those characters a lot more. Their ship, the Going Merry, I never thought I'd have an emotional attachment to a boat. That boat made me cry, Logan. In the most recent arc I got through, like, I turned to a page in the manga, and this boat, just tears just came out of my face. The manga has only ever made me cry one other time. It was a very emotional experience, and I wasn't expecting it. That's all I can really say about it. But
sounds like an experience that everybody should have. Crying about a boat.
Yeah, you should always cry about a boat sometime. I think you'll enjoy it.
Find a boat to
No,
cry about.
I am not deep enough yet, Dark Ryoku. I still have a whole lot to go, but I have been enjoying it pretty much the entire time. One Piece is fantastic. Please give it a shot. You can get a subscription to Shonen Jump for $1.99 a month, and you have access to the entirety of the manga to read. The cool thing is, after you've caught up, if there's nothing else you want to read, you can cancel your subscription, and you can still read the first 3 volumes, or the most recent 3 chapters of the manga for free. It's actually like a really cool setup. So, obviously, scanlations have been a big issue, piracy for manga for years, and Shonen Jump has come up with a really good way to combat that, but also, still generate revenue and stay afloat.
Right.
It's very cool. I would implore you, if you read manga, to please support that. Anime streaming services have already figured it out, but now manga can do it too. Yeah, that's pretty much all I did for anime, but I did play a lot of games. I'm going to gloss over most of these. Like Beat Saber, we already talked about.
Yep.
We played Stardew Valley on stream. You guys can go check that out on the channel.
Please check that out.
Obviously, I'm still playing Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. That probably won't change for a while. I played a little bit of Katamari Damacy. I do plan to do a stream for that, so I won't talk about that too much. The same with Moonlighter, which I got on Switch. I plan to do a stream for that. I played a little bit of Uncharted Lost Legacy because I got it on sale for like $7.
Yeah.
Which is a really good price for that. So looking forward to diving into that a little bit more. I do find myself missing Nathan Drake a little bit, I'll admit, but
yeah.
Journey, I've played Journey before, but I played it again. Absolutely loved it. I got stuck with the same partner for like the entirety of the second half of the game, and that made it a really cool experience. Just getting to share this experience with someone I couldn't talk to, but we got to spend the majority of the experience together.
Yeah.
And during some of the more dramatic moments, like if one of us ended up in a bad situation, the other would stop, go back, and try to help. Like, it was a very cooperative experience. One of the best online experiences I've had in a while, I think.
Yeah.
In addition to that, I started Mario & Luigi Bowser's Inside Story plus Bowser's Minions, or Bowser Jr.'s Adventure. What is it called?
I have no clue. I haven't been
playing
paying
the remake
to
of
3DS
Bowser's
in a
Inside
minute.
Story. I thought I was done buying 3DS games. I've said that multiple times, but here I am buying more 3DS games.
Yeah. I mean, I
Mario
was talking
Luigi.
earlier about
Go ahead.
how they had a deal the other day at Target for some of these games, like games that have been released for quite a bit. Like they had Dark Moon and Super Mario 3D Land for $5 each, which is like a steal, right?
It's such a good deal. Yeah.
Right. But I was like, I hardly, like, my 3DS has been sitting on my desk for like 3 weeks and I just haven't touched it. I should finish the game that's in there, that being Majora's Mask 3D. I really should, but I just don't. That's like, it's not the first thing on my mind. When I go to play games, I have my PC, I have my Switch, I have my PS4. Like, those are all things that I go to before I even think about my 3DS.
I thought that would be an issue with me. I was a little hesitant to hit that purchase button on the eShop for Bowser's Inside Story because I was worried about that. But
yeah.
It ended up not being a problem. The 3DS is actually still just that much more convenient than playing on a console or on a Switch.
Yeah.
Just lay there on the couch all cuddled up playing my Bowser game. And I got, like, I want to say 5 or 6 hours into the game. Mario & Luigi Bowser's Inside Story is my favorite entry in the series. And if you haven't played it, if you like Mario & Luigi, what are you doing? Play this game. It's the best. Incredible writing, hilarious characters. Bowser is just a treat. One, to get to play as, and to just experience the ridiculousness of his day-to-day antics.
Yeah.
Wonderful game. I'm glad that Alpha Dream decided to remake this entry and skip Partners in Time. they recognize that Bowser's Inside Story is the most popular game in the series, so they decided just to jump straight to that one.
Yeah.
My hope is that you've heard me talk about wanting Paper Mario on Switch rather than Mario and Luigi.
Yeah.
But playing this game right now really makes me want to see what they could do with a Mario and Luigi title on an HD platform.
Right.
So I'm hoping that next year we get an announcement for a brand new Mario and Luigi RPG on Switch. If they make another one, like, that's the thing. Like, if they don't make another one, whatever. But if they do make one, I want to see it on Switch. I'd rather not see another one on 3DS. Because this is now the fourth game in the series that's used the exact same art and assets as Dream Team. And I loved Dream Team.
Yeah.
But gotta have to change it up after a while, right?
Yeah. I'm just... Man, you mentioned Paper Mario, and that gets me going, like, every time, right?
I don't think we'll be seeing one for a while.
Yeah, I just want to return to form. Like, none of this...
I think it will happen. We've seen it happen several times on Switch already with various games.
Right.
Zelda, Mario. You could even say Smash Brothers in some respects. Super Mario Party.
Yeah.
They tried with Mario Tennis Aces, though that game's improved a lot since launch. Yeah, I think we're gonna get that Paper Mario game we've been wanting since Thousand Year Door.
Please.
They're not tone deaf. They know how people feel about Sticker Star and Color Splash.
Yeah.
People give Color Splash a lot of flack, but that game started development before they really had the full context for the reception to Sticker Star.
Right.
So I think despite that, they did some things with Color Splash that I really like. And here's the thing. I hate Sticker Star. I really like Color Splash. That doesn't change the fact that I don't like the battle system, but I think we're getting there.
Right. Little by little. Hopefully sooner rather than later, because...
Once again, play Bowser's Inside Story. I have one more game to talk about.
Okay.
That's Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Or Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
Wait, do you like this game?
No, I don't really like it. But I finished it.
Oh, no, you finished it?
I beat it. I beat it on Saturday. No, I beat it on Saturday morning, actually. Yeah, I just kind of picked up this game because I was sitting on my Switch. Michaela wanted to play Stardew Valley with her friends, and I was like, well, what am I going to do tonight? And I was like, I haven't finished Xenoblade Chronicles. I don't remember what's going on, but I popped it in my Switch, and I turned it on, and oh, wow. I like that game a lot, Logan. I was in Chapter 6 when I turned the game on, and there's 10 chapters in the game. And by the night was over, the same night, by the way, I was in Chapter 8. And this is a 65-hour RPG.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that happened. But, yeah, some really cool things happen in the plot. The battle system continued to open up even in the last few chapters of the game, which was crazy to me. They kept introducing new things. But the battle system was really engaging. I know, like, if you first start playing the game for the first time and you're not used to it, the auto attack thing can be a little detracting from the experience because you feel like you're not doing anything. You press your arts button every once in a while, but that's about all you do.
Right.
But as the game goes on, you learn about chain attacks and how to use your arts effectively and how to combo those things together.
Yeah.
To deal the most damage, and it becomes really fun. I really ended up enjoying the battle system a whole lot by the time I was done with
How much does the battle system differ from Xenoblade Chronicles? I know you have some experience with Xenoblade Chronicles.
In some respects, they're pretty close. In other ways, they might as well not be the same game.
Okay.
The driver combos I know are lifted from Xenoblade Chronicles. The break, topple, launch, and smash chain that you can do in Xenoblade is also in Xenoblade 2. But the whole art system and everything is completely different from Xenoblade 1. I mean, they still have the cooldown, but there's only 3 arts per character instead of however many there were in the original game.
Right.
And they're assigned to buttons rather than a wheel, which I liked a lot.
Right.
The wheel was a little frustrating for me in the original Xenoblade. You can also not attack while you're moving, which is different from the first game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the plot goes in some really interesting directions towards the end that I wasn't expecting. Just an overall really, really wonderful experience, I think. I was very tempted right after the fact to just dive right into the expansion pass content, the Torn of the Golden Country, because I hear that's like a 20-hour experience, and the battle system is different in that game. Which really got me interested. I also was interested in the extra challenge stuff where you can use Shulk and Fiora and add them as blades to your party. Thought that was cool.
Okay.
But haven't touched any of that stuff yet. I'm going to come back to Xenoblade later in the year during a lull, I think, and then play the Golden Country expansion.
Yeah.
It's $30 if you own the original Xenoblade. It's $40 if you buy the standalone version at retail. Also, did I mention they released it standalone at retail?
Yeah, it's just like its own thing, really.
It really is. But it's a prequel to the main game.
Right.
So they're tied together. And that is what I did this week.
Okay, cool.
Play Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
So I did a few other things. Going back to VR, so when I was home, I got to play a lot of VR. Budget Cuts was on sale for half off, so we bought that for $15, and I played a good amount of it. Definitely one of the more engaging and rewarding VR experiences.
I love the original demo for it.
Oh yeah.
How much has it changed from that?
I mean, not a ton, but it didn't really need much else, right? It's just more expansive, and there's, larger levels and more places to go, and I mean, even like the demo area doesn't even, like, bits and pieces appear in the game, but not that in its final form, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't really have a lot of I can't think of any gripes that I had with the game. It's really fun. It's
expensive too. Good lord.
It's like $30. But I heard it's like a 10-hour experience.
Honestly, that's pretty long for a VR game at this point.
That is pretty long for a VR game. I did not finish it, though we got relatively far. Man, there's nothing like a good, like, stealth game to really get your blood moving, right?
Yeah.
I should mention, like, I played the Resident Evil one-shot demo before the podcast, and I did not beat the demo. Not even close.
Oh, yeah, I played that too. I forgot to mention it.
Yeah. So, like, I went around for 30 minutes, and it ended, I was like, I could not find any of the medallions, and I could not escape.
I did it in 17 minutes. But most of the time was me spent in the main lobby of the area trying to figure out how to leave.
Yeah, it's funny, because, like, I didn't spend a whole lot of time in the main area. Like, that's the funny thing is I just went like, oh, look, there's somewhere to go. Okay, I'm going to open up this part, and I'm just going to start exploring and grab stuff,
I missed, like, the door immediately to the right when you walk in. Or, like, the button to open that door. So I spent probably 5 or 6 minutes just trying to figure out how to get out of that main area.
Right. So, I mean, did you find all 3 of the medallions, and were you able to, like, open it up? And
you don't find all 3 medallions in the demo.
Oh, you don't?
You only get 2 of them.
Oh, I didn't find either.
The first one is in the same room that is in the main lobby, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And the other one is in the door immediately to the left of the lobby that you can't open from that side.
Okay. Well, it is what it is. That game had me very stressful. Also, it's really pretty.
Facial animation in that is incredibly impressive.
Yeah, no, it looks like they put a lot of work into the engine and how they constructed it. And it kind of made me... I mean, how does that compare to the Resident Evil remake?
The original remake?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't play that one, so honestly I couldn't tell you.
Well, I liked what I played of this one. It felt good. It felt better than some of the other games that I'd play, like...
it felt, to me, like it just felt like an evolution of 4's gameplay.
Yes.
Specifically, moving Leon felt like butter.
Yeah,
like
no,
really
it did feel like butter. Yeah, it felt really, really good.
Wasn't that cheap stuff?
Yeah, man.
It's like, can't believe it's not butter.
So I appreciated that.
Butter.
Also in VR, I played Blade and Sorcery.
That's is that an RPG?
No, it is like just a straight like physical combat like game. It's pretty rudimentary. It's still in early access, so like there are daggers and swords and
this is
spears,
one of the things I hate about VR gaming.
and bludgeoning weapons, maces and shields and bows. But this one was pretty fun because like you can actually like the haptic feedback, you feel it when you like stab someone, and sometimes it'll get stuck in them and you have to like yank it out.
I like it when I feel it when I stab somebody.
And it got pretty ridiculous. That was one of the things like we played that with my cousins, and there was like just a whole lot of laughs, you know, just because of how much fun it was. Just a lot of stupid fun. Stardew Valley is another one. Ever since the stream, I kept jumping back into it. I made another farm that me and my brother started playing on, and then I have a solo farm. So I have 3 different farms on my Switch. And like in my personal single player farm, like I'm already in summer, you know. I'm already getting away. Like I just bought like a ton of seeds. Like I planted like over 100 seeds on like the first or second day of summer. Started upgrading all my stuff. Like, oh man, it feels good. I'm really living the farming life in Stardew. Hence the background that not you can't really see right now unless you're actually watching the stream. Outside of that, I played Katamari Damacy Reroll. I finished that game. I might have talked about that previously. I think I talked about it on the Nintendo Stuff podcast.
I think so, yeah.
More Super Smash Bros. I still haven't finished World of Light. I'm at the very, very end of it. Like the very, very end.
Section.
Yeah. So literally, it would probably just take me another hour to finish that.
The one that is very obviously the last section.
Yeah, it's like okay, this is it. This is final. This is finally it. Still enjoying that. I did play some multiplayer. Me and some friends were playing, and that's a lot of fun. Because last time I played with that group, we were playing Smash 4, and then
that's the core, man. That's Smash.
Yeah,
play together.
Outside of that, let's see. There was 2 other things. I finished the final DLC for Spider-Man, and now I just have to go back and 100% all that DLC.
Nice.
And I do plan on doing that. I love Spider-Man for the PS4, and I can't wait to see what they do with the sequel. There's no way this game isn't getting a sequel. No way this game isn't getting a sequel. With over 9 million copies sold, like...
Didn't it set itself up for a sequel anyway?
Yeah, like, I don't want to spoil too much, but there are some, like, story beats in the DLC episodes that expand upon certain characters, and, I mean, I don't want to spoil it, but it's exciting to see what they could do with a sequel. And lastly, I bought Trials Fusion
Why didn't you wait for the new one coming out?
because I didn't want to wait and it was on sale.
Oh, well, when does the new one come out?
February 12th, I believe.
That's my birthday.
Yeah. So,
It's my birthday.
plus, I mean, it's not like because I bought Trials Fusion, I think I bought it for like $6, right? It was really cheap. But it's not like just because I played that, it's like, oh no, like I'm trying to think of like a games that like once the new one comes out, like you just don't go back to the old ones, right? Like if you buy a FIFA game, right, you're not gonna go back. If you buy FIFA 19, you're not gonna go back and play FIFA 18, right? But with the like games like this, it's like okay, there's different level sets and there's still a lot of fun and they're wonky and that's part of the experience and but I saw that Trials Rising was coming out and I was like, okay, I really want to play a Trials game. So I found out that Trials Fusion was on sale on PlayStation Network and I went ahead and bought that and I think I played through like the first like 2 level sets before I like fell asleep. But those games are as fun as ever. They just remind me of like back in the day when I watched like more like Rooster Teeth. And they'd have like all these like custom stages for the Trials games and like those are always super entertaining for me and I think that also remains like some of the like the appeal. Like for example, when I got into the game, they had like you just start playing the levels and there are already ghosts of like your people in your friends list who have played those levels. You know? So like it showed like okay, out of all like 5 of your friends that play this game, like here's where you rank within them, you know? Which is always just an added thing. Okay, let's see. Can I beat my friends, you know? So it's quite fun. I enjoyed it. Definitely a good purchase. And there's probably more that I can't remember. So
I mean, same. It's been a month since we've done this show.
yeah.
Yeah, we're kind of feel like we're in a transition period right now. Where we aren't at full strength. And we're just trying to figure out how to work with that. So we appreciate your patience in all of this because it's been a little rough on us too, I think.
Yeah, it doesn't help that like I moved to St. Louis, you know, and I've been working a part-time job and now I got a new job coming, a new job that I've already started. So I mean, I think it's really about self-care, right? People take a step back when they need to take care of themselves and I think there's been a lot of that going on. So which I think the things that we're doing here and then also in a similar sense the things that we do in our own personal lives, you know, build that foundation so we can come back stronger, we can come back more prepared for these things. So while certain things slow down, other things take priority and those build up. It's like an RPG, right? You don't put all your stats into one thing right off the bat, right? You're like, okay, well, I'm struggling with this area in the RPG now, so I should really put all my points, you know, into this stat as opposed to this other stat that's like way, you know, more than enough. So,
right.
It's like life is an RPG.
You could say that, yes. So yeah, I think that's gonna do it for us today. We will be back on Friday with the Nintendo Stuff podcast at approximately 7 p.m. Central Time. Hopefully we'll have a Nintendo Direct to talk about sometime this month.
Please soon, Nintendo.
Been playing a game on my Twitter called Direct or Wrecked, and this week we got wrecked. Maybe next week we'll get a Direct.
Oh man.
Hosted by Yoshiaki Koizumi, by the way. Yeah, a little surprised we didn't get one this week, to be honest. I mean, last year by this time, I think we already had that Direct Mini.
Yeah.
So.
I think they're just holding it out. Every time somebody says there's gonna be a Direct, they pull it back a day.
Oh, we're never gonna have a Direct again.
We're never gonna have a Direct.
Crafty J says, if life is an RPG, I'm a useless NPC that doesn't sell anything or give you quests.
He's just got like pre-scripted things. Or like he's just there for aesthetic.
He's got like 3 phrases that he says.
On repeat.
I think the diamonds in the big mining cave are really beautiful. Have you ever tried warm fuzzy socks? Did you know my name is Crafty J? Wow, I did not know that when it said Crafty J over your text bubble. Alright, guys. I think that's going to do it for us. Follow me on Twitter at Babababs to see all the dumb stuff I say on there. And follow Logie Dubs to see all the dumb stuff he says over there.
I say some dumb things.
You can follow us as a collective at Breakroom Arcade to find out when we're doing everything that we do. If you join our Discord server, you can more closely observe us say dumb things, and you can also participate in saying dumb things.
We can all say dumb things together.
It's like a big multiplayer game where we all say dumb things.
That's the primary gameplay loop.
Yeah, it's actually really revolutionary. No one's funded us yet, so we can't exactly make it, but you can participate in the beta if you join our Discord server.
And please do.
With all that in mind, make sure to check out everything else we got going on here. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Leave a like on this video too. It always helps us out. Like us on podcast services as well. We're a little behind on the uploads there. We'll get working on that as well. But until next time, guys, don't break your backs. Breaking the games. But for now, break time's over.
And make sure you get 7 to 9 hours of sleep every night and don't take your phones to bed. Good night.
I'm gonna play Beat Saber.
Yay!